Good evening, I'm David Brown, and welcome to the Season 2 premiere of the Northern Sun Experience. And it's only fitting that we start our second season with a team that finished second in the nation. Minnesota State's football team was a perfect 14-0 heading into the national championship last winter, but the Mavericks got a rude awakening from Colorado State Pueblo, who shut out MSU 13-0. It's a loss that still sticks with Minnesota State, even as they're trying to turn the page. You don't get as far as Minnesota State did last year without a lot of things going right. But the Mavericks' run was also about taking advantage of the things that went wrong. Injuries forced MSU to shuffle between quarterbacks Ricky Lloyd and Nick Pieracini, and both had their fair share of success.
It kind of worked itself out where we ended up platooning, and it ended up working really well for us.
You always have to put aside a little bit of ego when you're going to split two quarterbacks and stuff, but I feel like we both handled it well, and we both handled it with pride and with maturity and stuff, so it ended up ending well.
It was a little different than we were both used to in the past, but coaches did a good job keeping us warm and getting us out there, getting us comfortable.
Both QBs are back this season, and they'll try and get the Mavs to take one more step after losing on the biggest stage. Not only did Minnesota State fail to capture the national championship, they were shut out for the first time in more than a decade.
We just didn't show up, clear as that. We couldn't get anything going offensively. Defense, held them to that 13 points, and offensively, couldn't get it going.
Like most teams near the top of the polls, the Mavericks insist it's a new year, but that the loss will definitely serve as motivation.
There's always room for improvement, so just working hard through the off-season, getting that far, it kind of left a bad taste in your mouth, but you got to get over that fact.
You can't let it take away from the season. We had a nice season, but at the end of the day, we lost the last game, and obviously we wound up winning that game. So we got to work for it and think about it and just try and get better every day to get back there.
Minnesota State is ranked number 1 in the Division II National Preseason Poll for the first time in school history. And the players know this year it's championship or bust.
I guess it's nice to be ranked number 1, but that doesn't mean too much at the beginning of the season. It's more where you end up at the end.
For me personally, that's my goal. This is my last year, so my goal, bring this team and this school a national championship, something that's never been done.
It's a tough order to fill, but I think our guys are driven. I think we have great leadership, and I think we're very excited to get back on the football field.
Now, as I mentioned, the Mavs are number 1 in the Division II National Poll, so it's also no surprise they're number 1 in the NSIC poll. And they get quite the matchup to start things off on Thursday, September 3rd, a playoff rematch with rival Minnesota Duluth, who's second in the preseason poll. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff from Mankato. Now, the team that's third in the poll is the University of Sioux Falls, and they have plenty of motivation this season. After a 10-1 record in 2014, with their only loss coming to Minnesota State, the Cougars were left out of the Division II playoffs and had to settle for the Mineral Water Bowl. But even as the Cougs try to move on to a new season, it's clear they don't want any doubts to linger about where they belong.
Doing what we did last year and having one loss to the number 1 team in the country, I told the players, after that loss, I said, you guys finished strong and you're going to be okay. Well, it kind of made me out to be a liar, so I haven't forgot that at all.
It was extremely frustrating, but we could have done some things that could have changed that last year, and now we know this year, a new season, it's up to us to do what we want to do this year, and we don't want to leave any room for a mistake or any room for controversy. We just want to get the job done the way we think it should be done.
We sat there and watched that 6th spot pop up, and our name didn't come along with it, but I think we got over it, but we're definitely using that as fuel for this year because we don't want to feel that way again.
Coming up on the Northern Sun Experience, we'll preview the volleyball season with another national runner-up from the NSIC and a team looking to get back on the national stage.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. No one would ever call the Southwest Minnesota State volleyball team under the radar, but the Mustangs definitely surprised some people last year, making its way out of an extremely tough regional tournament and all the way to the national championship. But the players and coaches know that in order to get back there, they need to remain consistent throughout the season. Here's Midco Sports Network's Carla Metz.
Southwest Minnesota State's volleyball team was always confident, but some players admitted they had no idea they would be good enough to make the Division II championship.
It was kind of like a reality check to give everyone just a know that we can do it and kind of make ourselves believe in each other and just trust in all of our abilities, that we just need to trust everyone on the court and what everyone takes to it.
It was exciting to see all the hard work we've done pay off. We almost had it there, but it's just more motivation going to this next season because it's only going to be harder this year, and it was a lot of fun.
The Mustangs may be moving on to a new season, but there's some lessons to be learned from last season's championship loss to the University of Tampa.
You understand in the grand scheme of it all, you know, finishing second in the country is not a bad thing, but at the same time there's some disappointment. Some of our kids had a little bit of stage fright and for a little too long, and against a team like that is not a very good recipe for success.
I think as a team we just learned that to keep persevering. We had a little shaky season last year earlier on, and we just came forth as a team and competed hard at the end there when it mattered.
SMSU knows their recent performance has drawn a lot of attention, but the players believe if they just continue to play their game, they can live up to the hype of last season's results and this year's preseason poll.
It's nice to be recognized, but if anything, that puts just a bigger target on your back, so you just have to use that as motivation just to compete and work harder as a team every single day.
If our kids come and play hard and play smart, I like our chances.
The Mustangs will start the season with 2 out-of-state tournaments, the West Florida Tournament in Pensacola starting on September 4th, followed by the Colorado Premier Challenge in Denver on September 11th.
All right, thanks, Carla. Well, SMSU is second in this year's preseason poll, but the team that's number 1 is hoping to rebound after not winning a national championship for the first time in 8 years. A preview of how Concordia-St. Paul plans to regain its crown next.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. As far as dynasties in sports are concerned, Concordia-St. Paul's reign in Division II volleyball is pretty hard to top. The Golden Bears won 7 consecutive NCAA championships from 2007 to 2013, but they missed out on an 8-peat last season, which is pretty unfamiliar territory for Concordia. But with expectations at an all-time high, they're hoping they don't stay in that territory for long. It didn't really hit the Golden Bear volleyball players until they were home for the holidays. You see, when you win 7 consecutive national championships, you don't exactly have time to take the same breaks as your peers. So when they didn't win the national championship last year, it was strange.
I really didn't have a reaction right after we had lost against Southwest. And then when I went home for Thanksgiving break, which we usually don't get to do unless it's a couple days, and my family kept talking about it, about how we lost, about how we played so hard though, and then it finally sunk in. I just was like sitting by myself. It was a little different though. It took a while.
While Concordia-St. Paul won't make any excuses for missing out on an 8th consecutive championship, there was a little bit of bad luck that may explain why they didn't return. Outside hitter Emily McDonough tore her ACL in the 2nd game of the season.
I'm sure every athlete knows it. When you get injuries and stuff, and you have to sit and watch and you can't do anything about it. Like, you can't even go in and try and help or anything. It's a pretty frustrating feeling.
She's, a huge part of our ball control, and that was something that was an issue throughout the season for us. And we really, when it came down to it, that's kind of was our Achilles heel, I think.
Head coach Brady Starkey hopes that McDonough's presence, along with a new appreciation for what the team accomplished, will propel them back to the top. Golden Bear players worked out at open gyms twice a week this summer, as opposed to just once a week last summer.
It wasn't enough last year, and so we have to do something different this year to get to where we want to be.
They're hoping the extra effort, along with an already established team chemistry, will help them regain what they believe is rightfully theirs.
Our team is so tight-knit. It's amazing how we all just get along, we all laugh together, we all pick on each other all the time, we're awkward together, it's awesome, we get along great.
It's definitely what you sign up for when you come here. You have this reign of champions, and you have to come and try and keep that going. And it's pressure, yes, but it's a lot of fun. You have that target on your back. Everyone's always good competition, and you know, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun playing with each other and trying to win it back.
Here's a look at the final preseason poll. The Golden Bears are first with 11 first-place votes, followed by SMSU with 3 first-place nods, and Minnesota Duluth with 2. Wayne State, Northern State, Augustana, Winona State, and Minnesota State are 4 through 8. But take a look at the American Volleyball Coaches Association National Preseason Poll, and the NSIC has 4 of the top 6 teams. The University of Tampa, last year's national champions, are number 1, but Concordia is 2nd, SMSU is 3rd, Minnesota Duluth is 4th, and Wayne State is 6th. Coming up next, we go from the court to the pitch to preview the season for women's soccer, including how Minnesota State can avenge its loss in the NCAA tournament last season.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Minnesota State soccer, like its football team, was undefeated in the regular season last year, but repeating a mantra we've heard all throughout this preseason, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the Mavericks finished well short of their ultimate goal with a Sweet 16 loss to Central Missouri. Once again, here's Carla Metz.
Minnesota State was 22-0, and it seemed like nothing could get in the Mavericks' quest for a championship. But a poor first half against Central Missouri eventually led to not only the team's first loss of the season, but the end of the season.
We're extremely proud of the season that we had and very proud of our girls for what they accomplished. It was an amazing season. But obviously that one has left a bad taste in our mouth.
The loss was especially jarring for the players who admit it took a while to appreciate what they had accomplished up until that point.
At the time, it was definitely a damper. It was really hard to get over because we were doing so well and so on. Like, we had such a good record. And looking back now, though, I'm just so proud to have been part of a 22-0 season.
We weren't expecting that at all. It was a big upset for us. And last year, we thought we were going to go all the way. We wanted it so bad. So this year, we're going to come out even stronger, ready to go, and we want that national championship.
There's no doubt the Mavericks are still the best team in the NSIC. Now it's about proving that they're the best in the country. While they would prefer to be going for a second straight championship, they're content knowing they have something to improve on.
We really believe we were the best team in the nation and we had a lot more in us. So I think it's motivated us through the offseason and going into this year to accomplish that last leg of things.
We have to look back at last year. We know how it feels to lose, and we don't want that again, so we just have to keep that in mind and just work hard every game.
Every day in this program is a competition against ourselves. We're always talking about how if we are the best team in the nation, that's who we're competing against every single day. That should prepare us well.
The Mavs will face a couple of Oklahoma teams this weekend before starting conference play next Friday, September 10th at Concordia-St. Paul.
Thanks, Carla. Well, as she mentioned, the Mavs are clearly the best team in the conference, and that's reflected in the NSIC preseason poll. Minnesota State gathered 14 first-place votes, while Winona State and Augustana got 1 each. They are 2nd and 3rd respectively overall, while Upper Iowa, Minot State, Bemidji State, Minnesota Duluth, and Southwest Minnesota State round out the top 8. Coming up next on the Northern Sun Experience, my exclusive one-on-one interview with the Commissioner of the NSIC, Erin Lind.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Well, this is the start of the second season of the show, and it's also the start of NSIC Commissioner Erin Lind's second year at the helm. Earlier this summer, I had a chance to catch up with Erin to discuss, among other things, the national success of NSIC schools, adding new sports to the conference, and the competitive balance of the Division II football playoffs.
All right, Erin, thanks for joining us. I guess the first and easiest question is, now that you have 1 season under your belt as the full-time commissioner, do you feel a little more prepared for your second year?
I do. Clearly I've been around the league for quite some time, but in the role of commissioner for 1 year. So I do feel comfortable. I feel confident in our staff and our ability to do a great job for our membership in the coming months. And that's what we'll concentrate on. We'll bring our energy towards servicing our 16 member institutions. But year one's behind us, and we know there were some honeymoon things that happened in year one. So we look forward to what the year's going to bring.
As you said, you've been around the NSIC for a while, but as commissioner, what did you learn that first year?
What I learned a lot. I did learn a lot. Even though I've been around the league for quite some time, I think for me, working closely with our board of directors, which are chancellors and our presidents, reiterated the importance of the student athlete. And I think I learned how to be an active listener and how to listen to learn. And I think that's really important to our conference being successful. 16 institutions, very different institutions, and trying to get those 16 institutions to move one direction. So we need to be able to listen to the concerns of our membership. So I focused on that. I think our staff is focused on that, and we are trying to really become active listeners in what we do.
A lot of success last year at the national level. You had Minnesota State as national runner-up in football, Southwest Minnesota State as national runner-up in volleyball. You had St. Cloud State win the National Wrestling Championship. How does the conference compare to other conferences in Division II?
Well, those institutions you mentioned, clearly very successful at a high level. And we feel that anyone that competes in the Northern Sun and has the opportunity to go on to the postseason is going to be successful. We want to be the example for Division II conferences, and I think we're doing that. There's people calling and asking, how are you doing this? And not necessarily just on the court, but in the classroom and in the community. So it's our goal to be what other conferences strive for.
Let's go specifically to football. I think a lot of people probably within this office and elsewhere thought that the University of Sioux Falls deserved a football playoff spot last year. Their only loss was to the top team in the nation, but based on factors, based on how the NCAA picks things, they weren't included. Do you talk with the NCAA using maybe this example as just a way to try and get a fair share of postseason teams in?
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly, it was a disappointment. When any one-loss team is left out of a playoff system, and in Division II football, it's a small bracket of 24 teams. But clearly, we were disappointed for the institution. And as a conference, we've been on the positive end and the negative end on teams making playoffs, whether it's in football or other team sports. But Coach and his players had a great opportunity to participate in the Mineral Water Bowl, and they did an outstanding job. They won the Mineral Water Bowl championship, and they performed like champions. Now, that being said, the NCAA Division II is a membership-driven organization, so the folks who are on the Division II football committee and on the championships committee and other committees within our association are members of our institutions, or athletic directors, or coaches, or commissioners. And those people spend a great deal of time talking about selection criteria and talking about the Division II regionalization philosophy. And happy to say that in the coming year, football bracket is expanding, and we're going from 24 to 28. So hopefully institutions with a one loss won't be left in the cold, but can't guarantee that'll happen. And the other thing they're discussing is the idea of transparency in the selection criteria and being able to publish what the selection criteria is. And I think if the Division II membership really wants that, that will happen.
Let's switch gears a little bit to basketball. You had your second year at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls for the conference basketball tournament. Recently announced it's going to continue there through 2019. Obviously, you must have liked what you saw in the Pentagon. Why continue it there?
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's a first-class facility. It provides a memorable experience for our student athletes and our coaches and our fans. Arguably the best Division II conference tournament in the country, not just the competition, but the facility and the community that supports the facility. Clearly it's a classy facility. It's got this piece of history with it, the technology. We're able to do an excellent webcast and excellent television broadcast in there. So we're really fortunate. We feel good about extending the partnership with Sanford Health and the Pentagon through 2019. And for folks who haven't been yet, look for us to invade Sioux Falls at the end of February and early March, and hopefully they can come out and join us.
You also recently announced that swimming and diving will be added as another sport, I believe the 18th sport in the NSIC starting the 16-17 school year. How did that all come together with the schools?
Well, we sponsored the sport a few years ago, but we used associated members, and those are members that are not full members of the Northern Sun, but are associated with a different conference. And in the short term, it's an okay business model for athletics, but in the long term, it's not very sustainable. So So what we did is we took really the pros of sponsoring women's swimming and diving, and we provided those facts to our member institutions. We currently have 4 full-time members that sponsor the sport, and we spread the information. We answered a lot of questions. The institution did some feasibility studies, and we're really excited and happy that Augustana College, the University of Sioux Falls, and the University of Mary are adding that in 16-17, and we're thrilled to have a platform for these young women to compete on.
Concordia-St. Paul also announced that they are going to be adding a lacrosse team in the 16-17 school year. Is there momentum from other NSIC schools to possibly add lacrosse as a 19th sport?
Well, clearly it's a fast-growing sport at the high school level and at the collegiate level. It is moving in from both the East Coast and the West Coast here into the Midwest. And Concordia, we're happy for them. They're paving the path for Division II lacrosse in our geographic footprint. As a conference, we'll continue to monitor the trends and talk about the feasibility of actually implementing it as a conference sport. We'll need 6 schools to bring it to that championship level, but this time there is no timeline on it. We will just continue to monitor, and we're really excited for Concordia.
Our thanks to Commissioner Lind for hosting us at the Burnsville, Minnesota NSIC headquarters. The previews are now done and the games are ready to go. Thursday kicks off the fall season in the NSIC, and we'll be back here next week to break it all down. Season 2 is officially underway, and we hope you join us next week for another Northern Sun experience.